Thanks, Amira. I'm here with Ashleigh Saith. She works at Interval House, which is a shelter for domestic abused women. Hi, Ashleigh. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
First of all, I'd like to know how much of an issue is domestic violence today in Canada?
I think it's still a really big issue, as we can see from recent events like Chris Brown and Rihanna, and the new top model coming out and saying that she was physically abused in a relationship. It's still something that's really important to think about. It's really in the forefront again, and based on the number of women who are trying to get into the shelters, it's increasing, especially during the economic crisis that we're having. Men who are already somewhat abusive, this whole economy crisis is exacerbating those existing problems, which means that a lot more women are feeling the effects of domestic violence today.
How is the economy affecting this issue?
Well, the thing about domestic violence is a lot of it is about control. So, for example, if someone is at work and their job is threatened, they don't have control over that, but they can go home and control the situation at home. And if they're already predisposed to being abusive, that comes out in the home.
Now, I was wondering, was there a particular story or case which you heard which really highlights the seriousness of the issue?
I don't have a lot of direct interaction with the residents, but some of the stories I've heard are just they're really heartbreaking. It's not just the physical abuse, but there was one story of a lady whose husband was so controlling of what she did that he would check her odometer before she left the house to make sure that the distance that it took to get to the grocery store was what she drove. So there's these little bits and pieces like that that are really, a lot of people don't realize that can be considered abuse, emotional and physical abuse. And so those are the kind of things that kind of struck me, especially when I started working at Interval House.
Now, what do you think are the major obstacles for women?
One of the big ones is kids. A lot of women don't want to disrupt the household, so for the kids especially. So they'll kind of put off leaving, and they'll go, and women tend to wait until the kids are done school. So we get an influx of people coming in around the end of June. So that's one of the bigger obstacles. Another obstacle would be a lot of these women are not, they're very isolated. So they don't have the networks, and they can't just go to their mom's house necessarily, or they can't afford to live on their own. So one of the obstacles is the dependency that they have on their husbands for their income and for their living. Yeah.
Now, with this Chris Brown Rihanna issue, you mentioned that. How do you think it affects people's perception on domestic violence?
It's actually really interesting. There was an article in the Boston Globe, I think it was last week, where they surveyed teens between 12 and 19, and half of them thought the whole incident was Rihanna's fault. So this is like a really big opportunity for shelters like us and organizations in the violence against women sector to use it as like a teachable moment, to talk about what is domestic violence, what is dating violence, the issues of control and all that stuff.
Why would they say it was her fault?
I think what happened was he received a text message and she got upset over it, and apparently the story is that she hit him first. So a lot of even young girls are saying, well, she hit him first, so she instigated the attack, so it's her fault. Not realizing that, yeah, maybe she did hit him first, but you don't retaliate with violence, especially when you're bigger and stronger. So,
what was your reaction when you heard that they were actually blaming Rihanna?
It was really upsetting, and it made me realize that there's still so much to be done in our sector. There are some really great campaigns out there that teach about dating violence, and especially like the White Ribbon campaign, for example, teaches men how to not be violent and how to prevent it and how to speak out against it. But there's still so much that I think needs to be done out there.
What needs to be done?
Well, I think there needs to be more education in terms of letting young girls know what's right and wrong, teaching boys how to cope with whatever they're feeling in a nonviolent way.
Okay, and why do you think it's still an issue though?
It just never has gone away, really. I actually last night went to see a pre-screening of Polytechnique, the movie about the Montreal Massacre, and after watching it, like I was only 6 years old when it happened, so I don't really remember it, but you watch it and you think, well, I feel like that could still happen today. Like I feel like someone could still go into a university, be upset at feminists and shoot everyone. So I think we've come a long way since then, but there's still a lot of education and outreach to do. And I think it's important that we start focusing on the younger generations and teaching them, because they didn't experience the whole movement towards, women's rights. So kind of re-engaging them with the movement would be a good step forward, I think.
Thanks, Ashleigh. For more information, please go to Interval House's website, intervalhouse.ca. Back to you, Amira.